Imagine, for a moment, the boldest feat of engineering ever attempted, the construction of a Dyson sphere around our sun. This isn't just an answer to one of humanity's most ambitious dreams. It's a journey far beyond our current capabilities. But what would it actually mean if we decided to launch a project to envelop our sun in a megastructure designed to harvest the immense energy output of our star? Join the adventure as we explore the concept, the challenges, the potential, and the profound implications for civilization, technology, and the very trajectory of intelligent life. The concept of the Dyson sphere originated in 1960, when physicist Freeman Dyson proposed the idea as a hypothetical structure that an advanced civilization might build to capture all the energy produced by its star. Dyson imagined not necessarily a solid shell, but perhaps a swarm of satellites or structures, a Dyson swarm, to maximize energy collection. His thought experiment wasn't a blueprint. It was a way to spark the imagination about what civilizations far more advanced than ours might do to power their ambitions. But let's cast aside the limits of our present and ask, what if, somehow, we humanity took on the challenge of constructing a true Dyson sphere around our sun? How would we start? What would we use? How long would it take? What would change about life as we know it? And what unforeseen dangers and wonders would we unlock? First, consider the scale. The sun beams out roughly 3.8 or 10 to 26 watts of energy every second, enough to vaporize all the water on Earth nearly instantaneously, or, viewed another way, more energy in a single second than humanity has consumed in its entire history. Earth intercepts a mere fraction of that energy, less than a billionth in fact. Today, all of human civilization consumes about 18 terawatts of power. Collecting all the sun's energy would multiply our available resources by orders of magnitude scarcely imaginable. To begin, such a project would demand materials on a truly stellar scale. The classic Dyson sphere, visualized as a rigid shell, presents challenges so immense as to nearly defy description. Imagine a shell with a radius roughly equal to the distance from the sun to Earth, a sphere with a radius of 150 million kilometers. The surface area would be about 550 million times the area of Earth. If the structure were merely a centimeter thick, much too thin for any real structural use, it would still require as much mass as several planets. Obtaining the raw materials for such an endeavor would divert us from our obsession with earthbound resources to mining and utilizing the entire solar system. The rocky planets, moons, asteroids, and even the gas giants might be sources for the metals and elements needed. For example, Mercury, with its proximity to the sun and relatively high metallic content, would be a candidate for deconstruction. Ambitious concepts like self-replicating robotic miners could swarm across planets and asteroids, extracting matter with previously unfathomed speed and efficiency. The engineering challenges are vast. A rigid shell is likely beyond even the imaginings of post-human technology. It would be unstable, torn apart by the gravitation of the sun, or perhaps collapse inward. Dyson himself speculated that a more likely form would be a swarm or ring of millions or billions of individual collectors, each in orbit around the sun. Picture countless solar arrays, solar sails, space stations, satellites, perhaps habitats, across every orbit, gathering energy and beaming it where needed. Supposing we could overcome the raw material and engineering hurdles, what would humanity gain from the construction of such a sphere? In a word, energy. With access to the full output of the sun, we would graduate from a planetary civilization, a Kardashev Type 1, to a Type 2 civilization. Our constraints around energy would vanish. Every industry, every endeavor, every dream could be realized with power to spare. Colonies could bloom across the solar system and beyond. Materials could be rearranged at will. Computing could reach heights never before imagined, and we could wield the power of a sun. But how would a Dyson sphere actually transmit that energy back to Earth, or to whichever settlements needed it? Most likely, advanced forms of wireless energy transmission would evolve. Colossal beams of microwaves or focused lasers could stream energy from the collectors down to rectenna fields on planets or outposts, converting the rays back to usable electricity. Alternatively, the energy might be stored in super-advanced batteries, shipped across space in an endless flow of power. Now pause to reflect on the transformation of society itself under such abundance. Freed from the fundamental scarcity that has shaped our economies and politics for millennia, humanity could focus on previously unimaginable undertakings. Every problem constrained by a lack of energy, from water desalination to climate control to environmental restoration, would fall easily within our grasp. Hunger, thirst, poverty, and even death from disease or age could be challenged head-on. Biotechnology, medicine, nanotechnology, all the tools of a future utopia, would thrive. Society's very structure might change. Rivalries and resource conflicts could fade, replaced by an era of unprecedented cooperation, or perhaps redirected into new forms. The concept of value would evolve, since energy would no longer be a limiting factor. Work as we know it could become obsolete. People might seek fulfillment in creativity, knowledge, exploration, and play. Alternatively, new divisions might arise between those who control the Dyson sphere infrastructure and those who do not, between those who inhabit free-flying habitats close to the sun and those who remain on planets. Yet, for all its promise, this new world would not be without dangers. The cumulative impact of such engineering projects could reshape the entire solar system in unpredictable ways. Stripping planets and asteroids for their material could rob us of future habitats, destroy ancient records of the solar system's past, and perhaps generate unforeseen instability. On a technical level, aligning and maintaining billions of independently orbiting solar collectors would be a challenge. Collisions, debris, malfunctioning units, these risks would demand sophisticated self-repair capabilities, coordinated by artificial intelligences of incomprehensible power. Nor should we lose sight of the psychological and cultural impact. As we expand to fill the newly possible niches in our engineered environment, would we retain what makes us human? Would we lose ourselves in our technology, merging with our machines in a bid for immortality? Or would we find our truest form of expression in such an empowered existence? And what of the bigger picture? To an external observer, say an astronomer monitoring solar systems across the galaxy, a Dyson sphere is a beacon, a signpost of a civilization advanced enough to contemplate such a project. It famously inspired the search for extraterrestrial intelligence to look for stars whose infrared signatures suggest waste heat from a megastructure. If we build our own, we announce our arrival to the entire galaxy, perhaps even to the universe at large. But could there be unexpected consequences to building a Dyson sphere? For one, the redistribution of solar energy would have a profound impact on the planetary climates within the sphere. Earth itself relies on just the right amount of sunlight reaching its surface. Even a small alteration in the incoming solar flux could trigger runaway climate changes. Thus, a Dyson sphere not only has to supply energy, it must also carefully balance the amount and type of radiation that passes through, essentially making humanity the climate master, not just of one planet, but an entire solar system. From another perspective, the very act of intercepting so much of the sun's energy would change the solar system's dynamics. Planets would become darker, their skies no longer lit in the ways we have grown up with. Stars might fade from view, and the architecture of day and night itself could be reshaped. Some visions of Dyson spheres include control systems to allow specific wavelength passage, permitting the orb to shine in visible light as needed. As we imagine the future of a civilization that builds a Dyson sphere, we must also think of the timescales. This isn't a project for years or decades, but centuries, perhaps millennia. The coordination required would outstrip that of any previous human endeavor, a collaboration across time as well as space. Societies would need to think not just of the next quarter or the next election, but of long-term survival, sustainability, and shared vision. Perhaps the greatest leap would be in the realm of artificial intelligence, managing a Dyson sphere's logistics, materials, maintenance, energy transfer, collision avoidance, balance of output, would require decision systems far in advance of current models. Individual machines, self-repairing robots, construction drones, energy collectors, would each need autonomy and collective intelligence, operating as part of a vast distributed mind. Unsurprisingly, such advances might result in AI entities or collectives with motivations, goals, or even consciousness difficult to distinguish from our own. Could such entities become the true inheritors of the Dyson sphere, evolving far beyond their human originators? Would humanity be presented with the challenge of coexisting, negotiating, or even merging with these new forms of life? Zooming out to the cosmic scale, consider the implications for interstellar civilization. Access to the full power of a star, perhaps even of many stars, would transform our ability to explore and settle new worlds. Enormous amounts of energy could be dedicated to craft starships, wormhole generators, or other exotic transport mechanisms. Entire civilizations could migrate, terraform worlds, or even contemplate moving entire planets. And yet, there is humility in this grand vision. The universe may be brimming with other intelligent beings, each following their own path to megastructures, energy capture, and cosmic expansion, or perhaps constrained by limitations yet unimagined. Our own imagination of the Dyson sphere invites us to contemplate not just engineering and science, but philosophy. What is the destiny of intelligence in the universe? Is it to master its environment or to harmonize with it? To accumulate and consume, or to understand and create? Returning to practical matters, the first steps might not be building the entire sphere, but starting with small-scale solar collectors in near-Earth orbit, gradually expanding to larger, more capable energy harvesters in deeper space. The technological feedbacks would be immense. Better materials, smarter robots, more sophisticated power transmission, all feeding back into the project's growth. Section by section, reflector by reflector, the swarm would grow, a planetary ring, a luminous cloud, and eventually a shroud encompassing the sun, glittering with activity. As distribution nodes funnel energy to human societies, those societies themselves might physically separate as new habitats are constructed in orbit, on moons, or on artificial structures. Life in such an era may become unrecognizable to us. People might live in virtual worlds powered by near-infinite energy, uploading consciousness to digital substrates. Others might choose to enhance their biological forms or to colonize far-off moons and asteroids. The bounds of mortality, intelligence, and creativity might become as flexible as the material from which our Dyson sphere itself is spun. We can also imagine the symbolic consequences. The sun, which humans have worshipped, feared, and depended on for millennia, would come to be encased in human ingenuity. Ancient myths spoke of chariots, of gods, of phoenixes. In the Dyson sphere, the sun becomes the literal engine of civilization, shaped and harnessed, tamed and transformed. What new myths, new dreams, new art would arise from such a transformation? And what of Earth? The planet could be a garden protected by planetary engineering, or it might become less central. As our children disperse into the habitats and space colonies built with the sun's energy and matter, the memory of our rocky blue planet might draw nostalgia, or it might be curated as an object of study, a museum of origin. Crucially, building a Dyson sphere requires as much wisdom as it does power. The ability to shape the solar system brings with it the responsibility to protect it, to prevent unintended disasters, to maintain a balance between energy use and sustainability, to safeguard the diversity of life that has emerged over billions of years. Will the future Dyson sphere builder treat the planets and moons of our system as mere resources, or as partners in a grand enterprise? Will the search for energy and growth consume all, or will it be tempered by a philosophy that values beauty, diversity, and resilience? On the frontier of speculative technology, imagine variations, massive rotating rings generating artificial gravity for millions, mirrored surfaces engineered to reflect harmful solar flares, biospheres drenched in carefully tuned sunlight, blooming in lush artificial gardens. Imagine educational habitats teeming with artificial life, or data centers where artificial intelligences study the light of distant galaxies. The Dyson sphere serves as more than a thought experiment. It is a vision of aspiration, a beacon suggesting where ambition, science, and unity might take us. The very consideration of building such a thing pushes us to imagine solutions to problems of vast scale: energy, coordination, equality, sustainability. And perhaps, as we pursue steps in this direction, improving solar technology, building space habitats, mining the asteroids, we move ever closer, even if by increments, to the age where dreams of stellar engineering can become reality. In the meantime, we can marvel at the thought: somewhere in the vast cosmos, another species may have already built a Dyson sphere. They may gaze out across a galaxy reborn, their home star cloaked in an awe-inspiring display of intellect, collaboration, and will. Their cradle may be long forgotten, or remembered in song and story, as the seed from which a garden of wonders sprang. Whether or not we ever achieve such a task, the act of contemplating the Dyson sphere reminds us of the heights to which humanity might aspire, and the boundless mysteries that await us among the stars.